All right, we're back. I hope you all had a good lunch. We did. And we're now going to make another product. Let me see what we're making, Jeff. We're going to make a blueberry cranberry sorbet, but I think Paula told me there's something wrong with that. It's pomegranate blueberry sorbet.
That'll work.
That sounds good. This is a product that I once did a year or so ago, and I remember I left most of the sugar out of it, and Sadie came along and tasted it, and then backtracked and just gave this ugly look to the camera. So I don't know that I'm going to improve on my ways, but we put Sadie in another room. I don't need the critic. This is an easy one. 3 cups of sugar, 3 cups of water, the 3 quarts of cranberry juice. That looks like 2 quarts.
No mix?
No mix. No, this is a sorbet. But that looks like 2 quarts. Doesn't that to you?
How many ounces?
Good question. I think she shorted me a quart.
It says right here, 64 ounces. That's 2 quarts in my neck of the woods.
All right, so we got to cut back on something here. We're going to cut back the water to 2 cups. And
2/3 of everything. 2 cups sugar, 2 cups water, 2 quarts of the blueberry juice, and stick with the pint of blueberries.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So will you do me a favor and do the water? Because that's got too much in it.
Yes, sir. Water.
Oh, please. This stardom has gone to his head. He's getting calls from all over the world now, and
How was your wife 2 years ago, Jeff?
I was a nobody.
I pick up the phone and I say, "Good morning, Steve Thompson, president of Emery Thompson Machine," and they go, "Oh, hi. I was hoping to talk to Jeff." Oh well. Let me do the sugar part of that. This is sorbet, and sorbet and Italian ice, as I've said before, are the same thing. Don't believe if anybody tells you differently. The Italians always want to tell you that, well, number one, the Italian companies want to tell you that you can't do this. This is much too complicated. You need a degree in, Italian in order to make sorbet.
How are you measuring sugar?
This
By
way.
volume?
Yeah, it works for me.
Not weight?
No. Well, you can do it, but how are you going to do by weight if it's cups? No, it's my formula.
Okay.
Trust me.
Okay.
I don't. All right, we're going to put that in. And this is, we had a little change here. This is pomegranate blueberry. That might need a little more sugar.
Yeah, because it's pomegranate.
We do make mistakes around here sometimes. While Jeff's doing that, I wanted to show you another recipe just for fun. I have a Bordeaux wine sorbet, but you don't have to use a Bordeaux wine. Here's a red wine. This is a Shiraz, very popular right now. And a great wine recipe is a bottle of red wine, pour it into a bucket, and then pour in the same amount of water into the bucket, and then a pound of sugar. And that's the whole recipe except for taking some red raspberries frozen from the supermarket. Throw that in so you have some crunch, and it makes a great red wine sorbet. So very simple. Should be tart, but is it going to have enough sugar to freeze?
Yeah.
Does it have enough sugar to freeze?
Well, I think so, but...
Okay, we'll try it.
So there's no difference between the ice and sorbet, is that what you're saying?
None whatsoever. No, sorbet, sorbetto, Italian ice.
Now you could
and in Philadelphia they call it Italian water ice.
You could, to this, add a little of the ice cream mix, and it would be so much better, but, it's his
Yeah,
recipe.
but I didn't like it. That's right. Thank you. I can see I'm losing control of this. Next thing you're going to hear is, this would be a really good course if we could just get rid of Thompson.
Gate closed?
Yes, I don't make that mistake.
I did it on purpose.
Oh, yeah, okay.
See how you can go to the supermarket and buy anything that you think will make a great ice cream or ice, and there it is. And how many juices do they have there? They got 100 different juices. Cranberry orange and pineapple, coconut, whatever. So anything can be ice or ice cream and just be different from whoever else is selling the stuff.
The hardest thing I think about doing a live demonstration like this is It's not until you get in front of a huge audience, you know, worldwide, and the people in here, that you realize how many packages you open with your teeth.
Ugh,
Which I just didn't do. I haven't done it all day, but it's been a struggle.
I don't do that.
All right, so we're turning on the infinite overrun control. We're going up to full speed because it's a sorbet and it doesn't matter. The question is there a benefit high speed versus low speed? Things freeze faster on the high speed, so that if air is not going to be a function, if we can spin it faster, it'll freeze faster.
And in this machine, he's adding the blueberries, and you can just throw them in. The beater is going to take care of mashing them up, making pieces out of them and stuff. And what you can
Yeah, but I've got Sadie.
And what you can do is you can add them at different times. If you want a little more chunkiness in your ice cream, add them later, right before, like 30 seconds before it extrudes. And you can add the most in the beginning and then a little at the end. Or what you can do is, as it's coming out, which is what I do sometimes, I have a bag or a container and I'm throwing more in so that they're fresh. But I don't like big pieces of fresh fruit in ice cream or ices because it gets like a rock. And I remember growing up having strawberry ice cream, and those strawberries, you know, it was terrible. So I like everything ground up really good in the machines, yes.
So if you were to follow this recipe, it's basically 4 quarts, but the machine makes 6 quarts. Are you going to get 6 quarts?
Yeah, I'm making this.
No,
you
with
can
this
make
product,
a larger batch.
With this, what you put in is what you'll get out.
Okay.
There's no expansion because there's no cream.
Does the cream would expand?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so you can't put 6 quarts of the
No.
ice cream in.
No, but you have a true, tell him about your true capacity.
Yeah, it's. Let me find that old-time freezing
Because
cylinder.
that's unusual in the whole industry.
Anybody see that old-fashioned machine I started with this morning?
Right on the bottom,
There we go.
where
Okay.
I put it.
This is a pet peeve with me. All the other manufacturers, when they rate their machines, they'll say 17 quart capacity. So that people call them and say, well, what do you have close to an Emery Thompson? Emery Thompson's got 24 quart. They say, well, we have a 17 quart. Well, they don't have a 17 quart. A 17 quart to an Italian machine, which is Stolting, Electrofreeze, Taylor, Cappigiani, Bravo. These are all Italian machines. Their idea of the capacity of the machine is to take the cylinder, take the beater out of it, so there's even less stuff in there, and then fill it up with water. And it holds 17 quarts, and they call it a 17 quart batch freezer. We rate our machines by how much actually comes out. What comes out of this machine is a maximum of 6 quarts. If I did their method, this would be an 11 quart machine. But I don't think that's honest, because it doesn't produce 11 quarts, it produces 6 quarts. The other thing that they do is they don't tell you what the size of the motors are. You know, when you go to buy a car, you know if you're buying a 6-cylinder or a V8, it says, you know, right there. What they do is they rate it in British thermal units, BTUs. And they'll say on a machine this size that it's 18,000 BTUs. Well, you hear 18,000 BTUs and you think, well, let me think. I bought a master bedroom air conditioner. It was 6,000 BTU. 18 must be huge. Well, it's 18,000 BTUs the second you start the engine. But as the product freezes, the BTU rating drops down to when the ice cream's ready. It's somewhere around 7,000 BTUs. So telling you that it's got an 18,000 BTU engine doesn't tell you anything. It's a 3.25 horsepower engine, which is huge. That's really about 27,000 BTUs. And I'm probably wrong. 27,000 BTUs sounds really cool, but to anybody who knows the industry, 3.25 is, man, that's massive for that size machine. So it's just honesty. It's the way I want to be treated. You decided a little, me too.
What?
Meeting of the minds. We both, that's why I measured out the sugar. I thought it was going to need a little more. in the smallest machine, you should make at least 5 quarts, not less. Because otherwise, there's not enough product to slosh around and it'll freeze against the walls. On the bigger machines, you can always do a half batch. That's the easiest way. Let me point out one thing that Jeff won't agree with 100%, but I think it's important for the business. We do sell a book that's called Incredible Ice Cream by Malcolm Stogo. And the recipes are pretty extensive. There's 300 recipes in here. It also tells you about what each piece of equipment does in a store. It's got a great bibliography at the back that will say where we buy everything. You know, where do we get cups and spoons and stuff like that. So that's available from us. It's not cheap. It's $65. And by next time we get together, your book will be out. And I'll be talking only about Jeff's book, which I think is going to really be exciting. It's going to have some great recipes in it. And maybe you can do definitions of things. We can explain, you know, stuff from the 60s. You know, like urine. Urine is the opposite of you're out.
That's right.
And, you know, all these important things that we learned. Magic brownies.
He's not square, is he?
Magic brownies, the whole works.
You are the epitome of hip.
Thank you. Yes. Actually, everybody said I was a preppy. It was tough not to wear all my Brooks Brothers clothes today.
Did you ever own a pair of real jeans? Just kidding.
Yes, I did. In the second year of college, I bought a pair. They were white with black stripes.
What would be the name of your book?
What's that?
What would be the name of your book?
Mystic's Top 20 Ice Cream Recipes. Very basic. It's out. Yeah, I don't have it with me, though.
Amazon?
Direct.
No, I'm not paying to make... Look, I'm in this... I'm on the cheap in this industry. I keep everything simple. The book is a like a 25-page, hand put together. That's it. It's not... Go easy, huh? Yeah, just write your email address down. I'll get it to you.
Yeah, Jeff's email address, if you forgot from this morning, is X and then hippie.
Well, it's actually XHIPPEE at AOL.com.
That's not how you spell hippie?
It's how I spell it.
Okay, that works for me. AOL.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
XHIPPEE at AOL.com.
The guy is so far... He is so far back in the 60s, he's the last person on AOL.
No, I'm there with him.
I was the first person on AOL.
You're the first person. Well, now the way Gmail is Google is tracking everybody, we may be going back there. Any questions so far? Kevin? Explain capacities again. Other companies rate their machine. If they say they've got let's say they don't have, but let's say they had a 6-quart machine. Their 6 quarts would be to take this cylinder and fill it with water and say that's a 6-quart machine. It will never ever make 6 quarts of finished product because you can't just fill it up with water and run it. Our machines are rated by how much comes out. So when you see that we advertise a 6-gallon machine, it means that it makes 6 gallons of product every time you run the machine. So our capacities are larger than any other machines on the market, and every single one of them is larger capacity than any other machine. And our 44-quart is the world's largest production batch freezer. That's 11 gallons in about 10 minutes. Question?
To get 6 quarts of ice cream out, what's the maximum amount that goes in?
About 4 quarts in.
Depends on the product.
Yeah, it depends on the product, but 4 quarts in, 6 out. Or if you're doing ices, it might be 5.5 in and 6 out. Yes, this has been going a while because ice cream is high in fat and low in sugar. Italian ice is all sugar and no fat. The more sugar in a product, the longer it takes to freeze. So again, back to this morning in that timer, I don't want a machine that always shuts off at 10 minutes because I know my strawberry ice might be 11 because the strawberries bring more sugar to the formula. They're sweet. You know, eat a strawberry, it's sweet. Eat a lemon, it's not sweet. It's not bringing any more sugar to the formula. So lemon ice will freeze faster than strawberry ice.
It's coming.
Yeah.
A lot of them have a take a syrup first, you like a sip of syrup, cook it down in the pot. Is that not necessary on this because it's such a high quality machine?
I think all that is they're creating their own base,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's just a lot of extra work.
But like if I was to, because I've done a pomegranate something and the recipe I read, you know, just because that's all I knew was to make a syrup. But this is not necessary.
It's not the question is, do you need to, reduce everything down and go through all these steps? No, it's not the machine, it's the Italians. They want to make everything difficult. This is a very simple product to make. Ready?
Almost.
A little more.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
When he makes the base, right, doesn't he have to have it cooled first before you put it in the machine?
Not with my machine. The question is, do you have to cool the base before you put it in? No, because of our cylinders are so much thicker, you don't have to cool it. With any other machine, if you put a warm product in there, the gas is going to expand so fast, it'll put a bubble in the cylinder. No one's ever done that in an Emery Thompson.
What's the high temperature?
Well, first off, why would you want to put a hot product into the machine anyway? Because it's going to take longer to freeze. It's always going to be better to cool it off. But my general rule is if you can put your hand in it without pulling back in pain, it's okay for my machine. I use that rule because in some restaurants that I've run into, their hot water coming out of the tap is practically live steam. But for cleaning out at the end of the day, well, that's another thing you won't see. See how this is coming out now? Can you stand to the side so they can see? That's off camera. Let me show that to everybody. Look at that beautiful color. And that's all natural. You saw everything that went in there, or all the things that didn't go in there. And that's going to be a delicious sorbet.
I will say something, though. I've been experimenting with adding real hot fudge into the machine before I extract the ice cream. And what it does is it creates a swirl because it freezes almost instantly in the machine, and it's a cool deal. It creates a swirl in the product, and it also gives you flakes. So and I don't know that you can do that with any other machine. I wouldn't try it. But in this machine, I add real hot fudge to it.
Right before you're getting extracted?
Yeah. Yeah, about 15 seconds, and it makes a beautiful swirl and flakes, and they're real thin flakes. It's kind of cool.
Another thing you can do with chocolate is you can buy enrobling chocolate, which is the blocks of chocolate, and melt it down in a double boiler. And don't try this in any other machine, you'll destroy it. You take that hot chocolate and you pour it into the cold ice cream to make chocolate chip ice cream, and the enrobling chocolate will shatter when it hits that cold ice cream into a regular sized pieces of chocolate candy. So you might get a stracciatella where you've got strands of it, or you might get a big chunk like that, or you might get a little chunk. It's really unique, and that's a fun way to do a chocolate chip.
We got a long road to hoe here. No quitting.
Excuse me,
Yes,
what's the difference between Italian ice, sorbet, and frozen lemonade?
nothing. Italian ice, frozen lemonade, and sorbet are all the same. The only difference would be the sugar content. The frozen lemonade is going to have the lowest sugar content.
The lowest.
Yeah,
And that changes the texture.
makes it more coarse.
Just a small.
A granita, granite, yeah, they're more
One
coarse.
size.
And it's just,
That's it.
how is that, Vonda?
$5, right?
That's it.
Is the,
All day long.
Two questions about the machine itself. One, can you turn the machine on and the compressor on with no product in it, and does it start to shudder or shake, or is there a automatic stopping mechanism if you know, if you do that?
To turn the machine, to turn both on at once, you'd have to stand here like that and go like that. And I can't
guess
see
what I'm saying,
why you would do it.
If you could accidentally, absent-mindedly turn the compressor on like that,
Yeah,
Nothing
and
happened.
the barrel's moving,
the barrel's not moving.
okay,
Won't do any harm. Won't do any harm until you leave it for more than 30 seconds.
okay. Is there an automatic stop?
No,
Will it
Right here.
push the blade?
no,
Okay.
no.
With
So,
the barrel, you always have product in there if the barrel's gonna be put on it?
If you're going to spin the thing, you should have something in there. Water for cleaning, or ice cream or ices. That just makes common sense.
My machine, if you turn it on, I'm gonna get it, it's out the noise.
Yeah,
Want some?
yes.
so you put the water, ice, all the ingredients in, and then turn the machine on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing all day. We've been loading it up, then we've turned on the beater, and then we've turned on the refrigeration.
You have my best interest at
If
heart,
I
right?
were working in a busy kitchen
I'm okay, thanks.
and I had to multitask,
I'd fire you. It's just right there. Stop right there. What I said this morning is when you're making ice cream or sorbets, your job is to make ice cream and sorbets. It's not to talk on the phone to your girlfriend. It's not to get on the computer like I do and answer people's questions. Your job, it's like Gary said up in Chelmsford, Mass, we love you, go away. I'm here to make ice cream and sorbet, that's my job. Anybody who multitasks in a kitchen is going to ruin the soufflés, going to burn the steak, and ruin the Italian ice, you're fired. That's simple. One at a time, one task at a time. So is this good?
It is good. The blueberries are great.
Even without, you mean it's actually even good without the dairy in there?
Not as good.
Oh, okay. Yes, Ken.
Two questions. Does anyone make a custard base?
Yeah, a custard base is custard by federal definition. Let me see if I've got this right. It's usually a 10 to 12% ice cream mix with the addition of egg yolk, and I don't remember the exact egg yolk amount by volume. It's kind of small. It's maybe 1.5 or 2%. Forgive me, those of you who make custard, you know the exact number. But that's what makes a custard base. And it's where custard is usually found, which is up in Wisconsin. So you've got one of the best dairies in the United States of America is a company called Classic Mix. Hank Sweeney is their head salesperson there. And it's two brothers who own the business, and they make some of the best ice cream mixes in the world, if not the best. And they make a custard mix. Culver's uses it, which is a big name up there. And there's other pockets around making custard. Custard,
Anybody in
from Minnesota, you could buy from Wisconsin. But up in custard is an interesting product. We invented the custard machine in 1923, and then it was copied in the 90s, and it's a business that I didn't want to get all that heavily into because it's so regional. It's really the upper Midwest. But basically, custard is a soft ice cream, but a very, very high quality soft ice cream. You know, the way I used to describe it, if you want to have an idea of what custard's like, go buy some Haagen-Dazs vanilla, put it in a bowl, and stir it around with your spoon like a little kid until it gets sticky and pulley. And that's what custard is coming out of the machine. What Rita's is selling and calling custard, and what lots of places on the Jersey Shore are selling and calling custard, is nothing more than soft ice cream with the word custard whispered over it. It's not the Wisconsin product at all.
Coors.
Yeah,
Coors.
Coors is a custard
Yeah.
from Jersey, but most of them are just, before it was called soft ice cream, it was called custard. And so up and down the East Coast, when someone says it's custard, it's basically soft ice cream. You got to go to the Midwest. You got to go to Wisconsin to get the real deal, and it's a great product.
Is frozen yogurt made the same way as ice cream?
Frozen yogurt can be made in these machines, yes, but instead of one cone at a time, we're going to scoop it. And of course, it's got a tart taste. It's basically a low-fat or no fat ice cream mix. Anytime, again, like I was saying before, anytime something says low fat or no fat, start reading the chemical list.
Disgusting.
It's,
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's disgusting. One of my friends, Leopold's Ice Cream in Savannah, Stratton and Mary Leopold. Mary once said, "I don't eat any ice cream that doesn't have more, if it has more than 4 ingredients, I don't eat it." And I agree with that. Those custards, I mean those frozen yogurts have got so many chemicals in it, and just the whole process. Well, they're going in everywhere, and people are making a fast buck, but within a year they're out of business. It's not a great business to get into.
I noticed your machine has that shelf, so you can adjust that little shelf right there, right?
Yes, on the countertop it's adjustable up and down, so that you can
yeah?
use gelato pans or the 3-gallon buckets, or I like to fill half gallons from it because it's a small quantity and I can move quickly. So yeah, that's handy. On the bigger machines, we're almost always using 3-gallon tubs, and so I like it at the one set height.
So if I'm going to fill mostly pint containers, is that feasible to say that I'm just going to empty that machine into a big bucket and then transfer it into pints?
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. Is the question was how to fill pints, and yeah, empty it into a big bucket, and then put it in the freezer, and then go back and make some more ice cream or some more Italian ice. Because now in the freezer for an hour or two, it's going to firm up, and you're going to be able to work it like a cake frosting. It's going to be easier to fill it. And you go crazy on the labor, hiring people to fill pint containers until the labor is absolutely killing you, and then you go out and buy a package filler. The best one on the market I've found is the president of the company is Troy, T-R-O-Y, Sawville, S-A-W-V-E-L, and his company is T as in Troy, D as in David, Sawville. So it's tdsawville.com, and they make a real nice package filler for I think about $6,000 or $7,000.
How much?
6 or 7, that is pressurized so that you make the ice cream in the bigger machine, dump it into his hopper, and then you push a pedal. And the thing that's nice about it being pressurized is it's pulling back and it's filling the tube with all your nuts and cookies and candies and everything, and then pushing it into the cup. So the same quality ice cream that you're making right at the machine is going to be in your package, your final package. One thing, and then we'll get on to another flavor about pints and quarts. I mentioned earlier a friend of mine, 4 C's Ice Cream, up in Centerville, Mass. That's the Cape. And they have just a fantastic family business going on for years. And they get a big crowd, of tourists during the day, 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock, buying ice cream cones because they're walking around Centerville and they're having ice cream and they're having a good vacation. And then Cape Cod is unique, though you see the same thing, in North Carolina, in Kitty Hawk, where families come down and they come back year after year. And so you're going the first week in August and you're also meeting up with your friends from Milwaukee and your friends from San Diego, and you're all there out on the Cape. So you're going to get together for dinner at somebody's house and have a barbecue. So starting about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, people start going to 4 C's Ice Cream to buy pints of ice cream. Now, not hand-packed, they're not standing there, someone's not standing there scooping it. They've pre-packaged them, they've frozen them down to 20 below, and someone will come in at 4 and buy 5 or 6 pints and take them home. They're cold enough that they can drive them home without melting. So he sold them an ice cream cone at noon, and he sold them ice cream for dinner at their party. It's just a great business. And it's so easy just to hand-pack pints and quarts and have them in your store. I've even thought if you had a busy store, I'd have a separate takeout line just for pints and quarts. In fact, Fenton's Ice Cream in Oakland, California, north of San Francisco, Fenton's has been around for about, 80 or 90 years using our machines, and they've got a big business of movie stars and other people going up to Lake Tahoe. And they've got it set up that you can call in, I'm Tom Cruise, and I have my credit card on file at Fenton's, and they know what flavors I like, and so I just call them up and say, I'll be there between 2 and 3 o'clock, have my order ready. And so it's already charged to his card. They've already got it packed up. They've got some, a freezer bag around it, and he's just picking up 40 below ice cream and driving it up to Lake Tahoe. Nice business. Nice setup. I was surprised when we came to Florida and we saw that down here, that some of the sit-down takeout restaurants would actually have a takeout door where you could call up and get what was ever on the menu, and they'd have it ready at a set time, and then you have special parking, and you can just run in this door, get your product, and run back out to the car. Pretty nice. So, and Fenton's was doing that, 40 years ago. So we're going to make something now, something different. We're going to make pretty much the kitchen sink. It's going to be Cookie Monster, and now here's where I'm having a little fun with words, is I called it Cookie Monster Artisan Gelato. Well, no self-respecting Italian is ever going to make Cookie Monster ice cream. If it's not one of these flavors on the wall there, you can see over there again, the tiramisu and the hazelnut, and my favorite is Fruta de Bosco. You know what Fruta de Bosco is? It's mixed berries. You take some strawberries and blueberries and throw it in and call it Fruta de Bosco. Nice name, but why not call it what it is? So we're going to make Cookie Monster Artisan Gelato. And the only difference, we're going to use a 10% mix, and instead of one of the fancy Italian flavors, we're going to throw a bunch of cookies in and some chips, chocolate chips, not Fritos. No Fritos. No Fritos. And maybe some fudge, though I forgot to heat it up. Do you think that'll work if it's not heated up?
What kind of fudge?
I don't know, just Smucker's.
Oh, sure.
Hot fudge topping.
Oh, sure.
We'll throw that all in, and for fun, we'll run it at a low speed, and we'll call it gelato. And
all this stuff's going in there?
All that stuff.
Yeah, man.
You believe that?
That's great.
I'm telling you. And again, it's my little laugh at gelato because I'm trying to show you that gelato and American ice cream are the exact same thing. I got into this debate, which was not worth my time, with my counterpart over at Cappigiani, Andrea Cocchi. And Andrea said that they invented the gelato machine in 1917, and it was the world's first mechanized batch freezer. So I sent him a copy of our patents that showed that we patented in 1905. And he said, oh, no, it's not the same. Gelato isn't the same as ice cream. I go, really? Aren't you using milk, cream, sugar, and skim milk? Yeah, but we use different flavors. It's the same stuff. It's just lower fat, usually 6 or 8% instead of my 10, and Italian flavorings instead of American flavorings. But it's basically a ice cream. So here we go. Get out of the way. All right, thank you. Oh, so you put the fudge in here?
What? No, that's vanilla.
That's what?
That's vanilla.
Oh, vanilla, good.
Fudge is here.
Excellent. All right, so I'll pour the mix in
Here's
first.
the sugar. Sugar?
Sugar?
No, no, wrong recipe.
Wrong recipe.
I'm just trying to screw you up.
Yeah, I know you are, and it isn't going to work.
So that my key lime is the class favorite.
Listen, I can screw myself up without your help.
Let's see, we're going to put this in.
Well, it's already in the blend. We don't need to add any more. And with all those cookies, that's enough.
What's the lower revolution? What's the difference? Because the ice cream is the higher revolution?
Yeah, the lower revolutions is going to make a more dense product. It's going to be heavier. And this is going to take longer to freeze.
Leave me a little of that.
Excuse me?
Leave me a little of that.
You want it right now?
No, just leave me a little.
It's going to take longer to freeze because we're putting so...
Is it cold?
Of course, I'm running it.
I'm just making.
No. The young rookie, I'm not going to make fun of him because of his youthfulness. But the rookie leaves it open. I don't.
I did that purely for informational purposes.
When you get to be my age, you'll know how to do this. So yeah, we're going to throw in a lot of cookies and stuff, so the freezing time is going to be quite a bit longer because we're adding so much more sugar.
Are you going to throw in all of those cookies?
I thought so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be real crunchy. Real thick, actually. It'll be thick. If he adds them in the beginning, it'll
Well,
be
what I'm
thick.
going to do is I'm going to add half of them into the machine, and the other half I'm going to take each cookie and snap it between my fingers, and I'm going to shake them in as it comes out. I invented 2 terms. It's no big deal. I call one fruit flavor and fruit identity. If I was making strawberry ice cream and my recipe called for 2 quarts of strawberries, I'd put 1 quart in the machine, and since strawberries are so soft, they're going to get ground up like a Cuisinart, and they're going to be all dispersed. And if I was blindfolded and asked to taste it, I'd say, yeah, that's strawberry ice cream. You take the blindfold off and you look at it, and all you see is, you know, a pale pink ice cream with little seeds in it. It has the flavor, but it doesn't have any identity. It doesn't jump out at you and say, wow, it's strawberry. So I would then add my second group amount of strawberries. Instead of opening the gate all the way, I would open it halfway and I would shake them in as it's coming out. So now I've got my fruit flavor and my fruit identity. Here, we're going to do fruit flavor and fruit identity, but we're doing it with cookies. We're going to add half the cookies into the machine and the other half as it's coming out, so that you'll get the best of both worlds.
Whisk, do you?
I don't think so.
That's all right, I'll do it.
No. If your arm gets tired, we'll get you a brace.
What do you do to make sure your strawberries don't turn into little rocks when they freeze?
Good question. What do you do to keep your strawberries from turning into little rocks? Well, if you are throwing fresh strawberries in the machine, it'll grind them up so much that it won't. But if you're using fresh strawberries, you take each strawberry and cut it in half or quarter and put them out on a cookie sheet and spread a thin layer of sugar over them. It's called sugaring the fruit. And you spread a thin layer over it and put it into the refrigerator overnight. And they'll absorb that small amount of sugar and keep them from turning into marbles. So it works very well. You're right, because we've all had homemade ice cream that we made on one of those little salt and ice machines, and all of a sudden you get a real strawberry, and it's a jawbreaker.
I've heard that heating them up as well even ferments that more. Is that something you've experienced?
That I don't know. Heating them up, I've never heard that one. It doesn't mean it's wrong, I just don't know it.
Where are we in this machine?
You don't want the fruit to come right out of the freezer, out of the bag, and IQ up form and into the machine?
No.
Okay.
No, I can show you that. I did that last time in my frozen yogurt. I mean, Jeff just looked at me like, this is awful. And it was.
Disgusting.
It was disgusting. I found if you pour a lot of maple syrup over it and
then
throw
throw it
some
away.
cookies on top of it,
And
it's
then
not
throw it
so
away,
bad.
yeah.
And if there's nothing else in the house to eat. That's the only time I've eaten that yogurt. Not a fan of frozen yogurt. You know, go ahead.
I was going to ask this question before. Frozen yogurt isn't actually yogurt, frozen then.
It is, but it has the addition of a lot of sugar to it. If you just take a Greek yogurt that comes in the cups and put it into any machine, it's going to freeze up like a rock because there's not enough stuff in there to freeze properly. So they add sugar to it. So it's really a big fallacy that will come out someday, maybe today, that when people think they're eating a dietetic product because it says fat-free, yes, you can make it fat-free, but you still have to, you either have to freeze sugar or fat. In ice cream, we're freezing fat. In ices, we're freezing sugar. So if I give you a fat-free frozen yogurt, it is loaded with calories because it's all sugar. It's fat-free, but it's just, going to put the weight on. It's fat, it's fattening like that.
There's a place in Tampa that does like a fat-free, sugar-free, whatever. It's just a
Multidextrin. Yeah, the stuff that'll give you a laxative effect as they put it on the container. So I don't want that either. I just want a good eating product. Ken?
Where do you find recipes, gluten-free recipes?
Usually
what?
in the trash can at the corner of the room.
Gluten-free? Most dairy product is gluten-free by nature. So then it's what you add to it that is going to cause it to have gluten. So you have to look at the bag of the ingredients that you're putting in. If you buy an ice cream mix and add strawberries to it, it's by nature, by definition, gluten-free. If you add these Oreo cookies to it, it's no longer gluten-free. And I got to tell you, that gets divided down even further.
You adding this in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't like them?
It's fine.
I just want to throw everything in.
Gluten? Gluten is a wheat product.
It's a byproduct or it's a function of wheat. And Ken, what is the disease that we were working
Celiac
with?
disease.
Yeah, not only
Celiac
celiac, but the... Yes. We have worked with a lady for a few years now to develop a truly gluten-free ice cream for children with autism. And even the dairy mix I'm using today won't pass because the sugar, the way it's processed with something else, I can't remember what, which makes it not truly gluten-free. It'll pass government standards, but it won't pass a child with autism. And so she's been working on that, having trouble bringing it to market because it's a very, very small market. But when we started on it 5 years ago, nobody ever heard of gluten-free. And now it's becoming all the rage, so I've got great hopes that someday there'll be ice cream or frozen desserts out there for children with autism. Because the autism diet, if the child is caught early enough in life, can make a dramatic, dramatic difference. And that's wonderful. So this, it could pass as gluten-free, but not to an autistic child. So there's new markets, new careers. Yes? Okay, we'll get this started, or you got a good handle on it?
Yeah.
Just save me half the cookies. Can people see what you're doing?
I'm adding cookies in the machine. It's
Right, well,
not rocket science.
Yeah, but let them see it because it is rocket science.
Okay.
If you have a Capajani, it's rocket science.
Cookie, machine, in.
But you can't do that with a Taylor. That's why I'm going to turn this on.
Okay.
All right.
224, okay with you?
No, I want to take it down because we're going to make it a heavier product, so I'm going to take it down to
170.
140.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So it's going to take longer to freeze.
Good. Good.
So I'm lowering the speed to make it a gelato.
You hear that? Look, there's no secret ingredients. Just lower the speed, woof, gelato.
Yeah, that's it. Someone called in, wanted to know about what they call it, a blast freezer? Okay. A blast freezer goes by a bunch of different names, and you'll hear them all. Hardening cabinet, blast freezer, flash freezer. They're all the same thing. When we make ice cream here, and we want to be a typical American ice cream parlor, where we're going to make ice cream for 4 or 5 hours and build up an inventory that's going to last us until next Tuesday, we're not making just one batch of Cookie Monster, we're making 5 or 6 batches. And in order to preserve it, we're putting it into a specialized cabinet made by Masterbuilt and Globe called a hardening cabinet, flash freezer, or blast freezer. It goes to between 30 and 40 below zero. What makes it unique is you've got a freezer section in your refrigerator at home. You may be up top, maybe on the side, and that's set at about 0. And what that's designed to do is for you to bring home frozen green beans or a frozen pizza or frozen ice cream and put it in there, and it's going to hold it at 0 degrees. So in other words, you're not taxing the freezer. The product going in is 0, the temperature is 0, everything's happy, it's not having to do a lot of work. Now, if we make 40 or 50 of these buckets, and we've got a freezer that is maintaining a temperature of, say, 30 below 0, minus 30. It's just sitting there holding it. It was designed to hold, not to do anything else. And we put a bunch of these in at 20 degrees into that cabinet. It's going to warm that cabinet up. It's like cooking in your kitchen. Everything's fine. 75 degrees with your air conditioning until you turn on the oven. Then all of a sudden it gets up to 80. We're taxing that cabinet. So a flash freezer or blast freezer or hardening cabinet is literally designed to not only go to 30 or 40 below 0, but to suck the heat out of 40 of these at once. Just literally take the heat away. So it's a specialized cabinet that does that. They cost more, and it's the ideal thing for a normal large size ice cream parlor with a normal size operator. Not him. So you're going to have all this inventory of ice cream sitting there. So Sunday night, we say, well, Monday was a holiday, so Sunday night, we're going to need 5 tubs of Oreo Cookie Monster ice cream. We take them out of the freezer cabinet at 30 below, and we put a couple of them into our serving cabinet, one here and one here, so that they're going to warm up by Monday for scooping. And so as we serve this one, we bring this one up and bring another one over from the hardening cabinet, and we keep doing that so that we're moving our inventory. If you get a really large ice cream parlor volume, then this little method of from the 30 below to here isn't going to work. We put in another freezer, which is just a Sears chest freezer, and we give a fancy name, a tempering cabinet. It's just a 0-degree cabinet. And we've loaded up a bunch of these in there, so that instead of going from 30 below to 6 above, we're going 30 below, 0, 6 above. But the hardening cabinet is where you think of it as your inventory control. That's where you keep your inventory. If you're running a little machine like this, you don't most likely need one. I don't have one. I use my Sears chest freezer that's over in the corner. Cost me $600, and maybe I'm putting 5 gallons into it at any given time, and that's putting so little strain on it, it will harden the ice cream. But if you're doing a high volume ice cream parlor, you need a hardening cabinet. So that's what that does. Now, I'm going to get these cookies ready. And this is really not difficult. There are, in all my recipes, there's enough overage that the person making the ice cream can eat 4 cookies. Not 5, but 4. And you just take each one and just break it. It's breaking into about 3 or 4 pieces. Not hard, not difficult. And this is what's going to go into the ice cream as it's coming out. This is my identity. This is saying, oh, it's Cookie Monster ice cream.
As we were talking about like to-go pints, you want to keep those at that like -20, kind of level so people can get them home without a melt though, right? You want to keep those super cold.
For to-go, for people to take home ice cream, yeah, the colder you keep it, the longer they can travel.
Yeah.
When people leave here, and I've done a live demonstration, and they're driving back to Orlando, I hand them a spoon. I say, the ice cream's never going to make it, but, in an emergency, start eating. So that works well, too. Also, when you're doing something like this, when you're adding cookies or a variegate is that butterscotch swirl. When you're just new at this, have some extra cookies on hand, have some extra variegate on hand, because when you're just learning how to do this, which is only going to take a few days, you're going to tend to front load it. You're going to put too many cookies in the very beginning, and you have none left for the end of the tub. So keep some extras just in case.
So you put all that sponge in at the beginning of this process for this one?
I did. Yeah. I've never tried Jeff's Way. I'll try Jeff's Way next.
Is that going to still swirl?
No.
Okay.
No, it's all smeared in there.
That's for the flavor when you do it that way.
Okay. So we're basically making chocolate ice cream.
Well,
How many gallons of ice cream do you get per bag of that beer and cream mix?
If you go for the maximum amount of air, for every gallon of ice cream, you'll get 2 gallons. For every gallon of mix of dairy liquid, you'll get 2 gallons of ice cream. That's called, you're going to hear the term overrun. This is a good time to describe it, but before I do, let me just finish up. Anytime you're working with cookies, you're going to have at the bottom what I call cookie dust at the bottom of the container. And the tendency, and when I'm finished pouring these in, there'll be cookie dust down here. The tendency is to take the cookie dust and throw it in because you've got it. But we New Yorkers know that that's the dirt sweepings from underneath the refrigerator that you cleaned this morning. So we don't want the dust in our ice cream. It is not appealing to people. Don't be tempted to take the cookie dust and just put it in there. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, we use a term in the ice cream industry called overrun. Now that's the percentage of increase from the liquid to the finished ice cream is the overrun. Now here's the best way to describe it. If this was a bottle of fine Kentucky bourbon and it said it was 50 proof, Let's do 100 proof. If this was 100 proof whiskey, that means that it's 50% alcohol and 50% other stuff, inert stuff. 100 proof rum is 50% alcohol and 50% other stuff. That's what makes it. And so when we talk about ice cream, we could say that a 100 proof ice cream is 50% dairy and 50% air. That's 100 proof ice cream. But we don't use the word proof, we substitute the word overrun. So instead of think proof in your mind, but the word is overrun. So if we have 100% overrun, it means that it's 50% dairy and 50% air. So our machinery runs from about 35% overrun up to 100%. It doesn't mean that it's 35% air in the ice cream. The air would be 17.5% air. Got that? Again, proof and alcohol, 100 proof is 50% booze. 100 proof ice cream, 50% air and 50% dairy. So 40% overrun or 40 proof is 20%
And if
dairy.
If you go to the supermarket and buy the cheap ice cream, the stuff that's, $1.99 a half gallon, try it. It's an interesting thing. And leave it sit out. And in a few hours, what started as a brick of a half gallon, which isn't a half gallon anymore, will then be that. That's what the liquid is that you'll have when you're done. Because it's just cheap.
And even when it melts and you pour it down the sink, it looks like big old clumps of pudding. It doesn't disintegrate. Well, this ice cream, and it didn't disintegrate. After it melts, the product melts,
I couldn't say without seeing the kind of ice cream.
It's like almost frothy. Yeah, it doesn't, yeah.
But don't be fooled. Air is a very important function of ice cream. Again, the birthday cake versus the pound cake. If you sit down and eat a pint of Haagen-Dazs right now, you are going to be stuffed until tomorrow. You'll say, don't give me any dinner, I don't want to see breakfast, I am full, because it is so dense and so heavy, it doesn't sit well. Now, if you're running a fine dining restaurant, you've just given someone a 5-course meal, and you hit them with a low air content ice cream, they're going to walk out of there feeling like this. And you know what they say? They don't say, that ice cream made me feel full. They say, I don't feel good. I don't think I'll go back to that restaurant. And that's death. People have killed restaurants by overloading them with the dessert. If you give them too big a dessert, they leave there feeling full and awful. And if you give them an ice cream that makes them feel bad, I did an ice cream parlor up in near UConn, University of Connecticut, and it was called Dr. Mike's Ice Cream. And this one guy walked out, and it just said it all. He was a little rotund, and he's eating an ice cream cone, and before he gets back to his car with his buddy, he says, man, that was good. I think I'm going to go back and get another one. And the guy goes, you're going to get fat eating all that ice cream. He said, for this, I'll give up my martini tonight. Well, that's a hell of an ice cream. But the point is, it left him feeling so refreshed that he wanted another one. People who come in here and tell me, I want no air, or all I care about is air, they're missing the point. Ice cream is air, it's dairy, and flavor. And as far as I'm concerned, the key is the flavor. If Jeff had used a reconstituted lemon juice, like real brand lemon juice, you'd be going bleh on his key lime ice cream, because the stuff has a terrible aftertaste. But that's a mistake people do.
Nice visual there.
Thank you. I worked on those. How are we doing?
Well, tell me.
No, not yet.
Okay.
It's going to take longer because of the slow speed.
I know. Very slow speed. I can't do that with mine.
No, you can't.
What's
Maybe you
mine
should buy a
run
new
at?
machine.
What's mine run at?
250 RPMs.
Wow, big difference. This
Yeah.
is amazing how slow it is.
Yeah, it is.
I could have fun with that.
Yeah, you could.
Can't add it to my machine.
No. Maybe in your next life.
What is the cost per gallon of dairy mix?
The cost per gallon varies all over the country, and the good news is it varies with the seasons and the weather.
Well, not varies, the dairy mix.
Yeah, the dairy mix. Milk, your gallon of milk does not vary in cost because it's price supported by the federal government. But dairy mix and cheese and butter all change with the price. Butter, it's all based on what they call the butter index, and that's published every day. It's traded just like a commodity, and the price goes up and down. And if you have too cold a winter, cows don't produce as much cream. If you have too hot a summer, they don't produce as much cream.
It's about $9 or $9.50 a gallon.
Yeah, $9.50 is a good average, and so you cut that in half for your cost of ice cream
Per gallon.
Yeah.
per gallon. And
The penny you had, that was what?
That's 10 quarts.
2.5 gallons.
You said the bag is 2.5 gallons?
Yeah.
Bag is 2.5 gallons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they sell them 2 bags to a case.
yeah, I can.
So you have to get 10.
Make what? Do you make lactose-free ice cream? I have not. I don't know how you'd go about doing it. Easiest way for that is people with lactose intolerance know they shouldn't be eating ice cream.
It's ice cream.
Yeah, it's ice cream, you know. If you're allergic to shellfish, guess what? We don't make a shellfish-free shellfish. Don't eat it.
That's good, that's good. Are we ready?
Okay, what I'm looking for, again, if you can see this, is open and close it, and it cuts off like a knife went through it. That's ready. We're going to turn off the refrigeration. I'm going to, what do you want, halfway?
Go ahead. No, go ahead, go.
All right. I use my hands.
Yeah, I know.
There you go. Oh, he says he knows but doesn't like it.
You think they'd like it if your hand was on their product?
Hey. Yeah, I would too. Of course, I'd be eating them. Another way to do it is to take out a portion of ice cream, throw some in, and then do it with a spatula. Builds up a good right arm.
No,
All right,
you
now I'm
should
going
increase
to
it.
now I'm going to increase the speed. Watch this. And that helps get the rest of the product out.
Is that as high as yours?
That's it. About 234 revolutions per minute. And nobody has figured out to do this.
Quiet.
Yeah, it's a very quiet machine.
Well, until you're on the phone.
It was as high as it goes because I was expecting it to be louder.
It's so quiet, you're still going to hear all the children. Too bad. Now, at the one last thing, because this is our last batch, as we're making product, and we're going to make, say, 10 batches of this, it's going to leave a small amount of ice cream, maybe a pint, in the machine coating all the parts. If I make one batch of ice cream, it's going to leave a pint in the machine. If I make 30 batches of ice cream, it's going to leave a pint in the machine. And I have seen people discharge all this ice cream in 35 seconds and then spend 5 minutes trying to get that pint out. Don't bother until you're at the end of that run of ice cream. Then you can get the last bit out. Otherwise, don't waste your time, because you want to get on, you're in production, you want to get on to the next thing. So come on up and try this.
Is this the last one?
This is the last one.
So pig out.
Pig out. See, nobody ever believes me. When they come in here, oh, we're going to get free ice cream, we're going to eat. And this lady just said, thank you, Jesus, you know, no more ice cream. That's what happens. We know this at the end of every show. People are going, please, no more ice cream. Like, hey. Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Portions, yeah.
That's what it's all about.
That's for Ken. That's for Ken right there.
No, it's for me.
Oh, then
Ken can help himself.
I will give Ken his. Oh yeah, Ken, you have deserved this. Everybody, you haven't seen Ken. This is Ken Putt. He's our IT man. Runs all the systems around here, and he's been working the cameras and the questions all day long. And Vonda, his wife, is the money honey. She's our money manager and does a great job of that too. So we continue to be a family business of a lot of families.
Now, my opinion on this ice cream, delicious. However,
Oh, here it comes.
I would substitute the mini chips for the big chips.
Yeah, I agree.
Really?
Yeah, because when you're eating this, you get that big, hard chip, and you got to work it. With the little ones, it just goes with the flow.
Oh, I thought you meant vice versa. You would use bigger chips. I'm like, really? You would use smaller chips.
Mini ones, mini
Well,
chips.
peanut butter ones.
Not in this.
No?
I gave up using these big chips. I don't use them anymore. I buy the mini ones, white and dark.
Traffic clientele at dentist.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
We can answer a few more questions for you. I'd be glad to give you a tour of the factory when we're finished. I wanted to show you one thing. Who's this made by? This is made by Carlisle, which is a big U.S. company. There's always been a problem of push carts. How do you keep the ices cold? And people use blocks of salt water or blue ice. Dry ice is expensive. You can buy refrigerated carts. Nelson makes some great carts that turnkey parlor sells, where you plug the cart in tonight in your garage, and it chills down the walls. The walls are double insulated and filled with salt water.
That's what you were talking about.
And you freeze it down, and then you're good to go for the day. Here's an inexpensive way that I just found less than a year ago. This is like a giant blue ice that you would put into your child's lunchbox. The blue ice are only filled with, they're not filled with glycol, they're just filled with plain old water with some blue coloring. But in a real good system, there's glycol in between the two chambers here. And you take this and you freeze this in your freezer. It comes in white or black. And you freeze this in your freezer. And then you put it in your push cart, and you put that in like that, your tub of cherry ice, and you're good for about 5 or 6 hours like this, which is more than enough time. We did an experiment here. We made some ice cream and put it out in the front hall and just let everybody help themselves. And it stayed for about 7 hours of usable ice cream with just this as the refrigeration. So, and I think they sell these, it's called the Web Store, I think it is, something like that, where they sell these for about $70. And if you had 6 of those in your push cart or 4 of them, you'd be all set. You wouldn't be buying dry ice. You wouldn't have a lot of hassles. So that works out very well. The frozen lemonade people, a good example I forgot this morning, down at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami, Adele's type of business was down there. And they would make their product for Joe Robbie Stadium at about, on Thursday, and freeze it to maybe 20 degrees or a little colder, keep it in freezers. And then on the day of the game, they would drive them over there and shake the plastic bag and then put them into a tub and sell it from there. I think I mentioned before that this was the delivery system I did for Universal Studios. I did about $1 million worth of business with Universal a while back, quite a while back. It's been 15 years. And still running strong. They run the machines 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, making frozen lemonade. They were losing a third of the product delivering it around the park. And they said, you got to come down and solve this problem. I was in New York, so I said, yeah, I'll come down. So I came down, sat on the beach for a few days, and then drove over there. And they thought I was going to show up with like a Cushman golf cart with a refrigerated section on the back. I walked in with a couple of these round igloo coolers. These are the type you see at the job construction site for the employees to hold the water. We're not going to use the spigot, just forget it's there, but this is even more heavily insulated than the normal igloo coolers. And so what I did is I had them line it with a plastic bag, dump their Italian ice into that, twist tie it, put the lid on, put the whole thing in the freezer. Now they drive these around the park and just drop them off at the different stations where they're selling the frozen lemonade. I mean, it's a great and simple delivery system. Another favorite Universal Studios story, just for fun, that I'm always meeting people way smarter than me, and it's always exciting. I went down another time to Universal to check on them, and I tasted the product, and I looked at the chef, and I said, all right, who messed with my formula? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, I can taste citric acid because my throat is closing. I don't use citric acid. It's a cheap way of making your Italian ice more tart. And a lot of recipes call for it, but it's just cheap. Use more lemon juice. And they had put citric acid into my formula. And I said, what's going on here? He said, it was the suits upstairs. And he said, come on, I'll show you the reason. So we go out into the park, And we're in the park, and there's a family with some children, and they stop and they buy a frozen lemonade, and we're right behind them, and they've got the big cups of the frozen lemonade, and they're eating it, and we're walking behind them, and they're walking, and again, this product has citric acid in it. And we're walking slowly behind them, and after about 15 minutes, they've consumed the frozen lemonade, and now they're thirsty because of the citric acid, and you turn, and they're right in front of Pepsi-Cola and Budweiser beer. And so, of course, they sold them Pepsis and Bud. And I thought, oh, man, these people are just the geniuses of marketing. So that's kind of fun. But that's a great product, the frozen lemonade. And you're thinking about it, and I think it's great especially for ballparks, Little League. And another idea to think about is back in New York, it's always been a Democrat state. That's why I left. And the mayor was Mario Cuomo, not Andrew the son, but Mario was the mayor. And so they have this fair every year up in Albany, the state fair. And it's known that the only way you're going to get in is if you're a card-carrying Democrat. If you're a Republican, don't apply. They're not going to give you a booth space. My customer wanted a booth space, and he's more conservative than Attila the Hun. So he went to the powers that be at the state and said, how much are all those booth people giving you? He said, they're giving us 18% of their gross to be at the fair. He goes, I'll give you 22%. And they said, come on in, friend. We don't care what party affiliation you are. You're going to give us that much more money. And that worked. Also worked down at the Astrodome. The Astrodome was owned, unlike Yankee Stadium, which Steinbrenner owned, the Astrodome was owned by the city. And so that means the city is interested in how much money they're making and the profits. ARA Services is running it, selling the hot dogs and the beer and the sodas, and there's no way they're going to let you in. This guy goes in, finds out that ARA is giving them 16% of the gross, and he says, I expect to do $450,000 gross sales during your season, and I'll give you 22%. They said, ARA, move over, there's a new kid coming in town. Now those are extreme examples, but just because someone says you can't sell here because he's been selling hot dogs here for 40 years, you look around it and say, well, follow the money trail. How can I make myself more attractive to that Little League park than the other guy? And besides, he's only selling hot dogs and soda. What threat am I? Well, you are a huge threat. You're going to get a lot of their money. But
I didn't think of it like that, with somebody selling something totally different.
Yeah, especially if someone's selling a totally different product, because you're less threatening. They have no idea how well your product's going to sell. And if I'm a father and I've got 2 kids playing baseball and I've got $10 to spend on food, if I spend it with you, I didn't spend it on hot dogs. But by that time, you're already well entrenched, and everybody's asking, where's the frozen lemonade people? And frozen lemonade just doesn't have to be just lemon. It can be other products or other flavors. In New York, we call it Italian ice, and in Italian neighborhoods, it's so Italian that if you walk in and order a cherry ice, you say to the person, "Give me a cherry lemon ice. Give me a grape lemon ice." Lemon ice is like thermos; it's the generic term. And then you go down the road to Philadelphia, and they go, "Oh, we don't sell Italian ice. We sell Italian water ice." And that's what they always call it, Italian.
Frozen lemonade, no matter what flavor it is.
That's right. It's always, give me a cherry frozen lemonade. So you can have a great time with Italian ice. It takes very little investment. It's a machine. It's talking to the health department. They're going to want a 3-compartment sink that Jeff's working on over there. The purpose is to wash, rinse, and sanitize your parts. And everything else to do with the health department, these people over here who you can't see on camera, I was talking to them and they were having some difficulty. It was just a matter of better explaining to the health inspector what you're trying to do. Health inspector walks in here, and this room is approved for wholesale ice cream and ices. I did that on purpose. And they walk in and they might say, well, we want a dairy tile floor and dairy tile walls. And these things are expensive. But the health inspector is a government agent, and they're trying to protect themselves. And so if they tell you the most difficult thing, they're not going to get in trouble. So you write down, you start a diary when you want to get into business. You say, Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to meet with Phil, the inspector. And Phil says, okay, in this room you need this, 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 and this. And then I'll call Steve or Malcolm or Jeff or someone else in the business and say, you know, he wants a $5,000 dairy floor, and I've got concrete. I'll tell you that they'll allow a 2-stage epoxy floor. You can paint it with the paint and then seal it, and it's fine. You go back to the health inspector, Phil, and you say, Phil, I know you wanted the $5,000 floor. Can I do a 2-stage epoxy? Sure, that's fine. You write it down. So that on March 10th, when you're ready to open, and Phil brings his boss for the final inspection because his boss is checking up on him, and the boss says, what's with that floor? Oh, Phil approved it on November 15th. Oh, well, okay, if Phil approved it, I'm not going to go against my own man. And so you keep a diary of all those things, and then the next thing you know, you're open and you're in business. I love Florida because Florida is so much easier to do business than New York. New York doesn't want business, no matter what they say. Florida is welcoming business. They will help you to get into business, and many states are like that, especially throughout the South. They are really welcoming business, so that's kind of fun. But no matter where you are, if you're in Wisconsin or Nevada or Oklahoma, you just follow their rules, but keep good records, and you'll get open. And ask people questions. Don't get locked in because some health inspector says you need a $5,000 floor. Ken.
What equipment would a person need for to start a basic ice cream parlor? How would you lay it out?
To start a basic ice cream parlor is quite frankly going to be a lot of equipment. It's going to be probably, I think most people are going to say $200,000 to open up an ice cream parlor. It's a lot of work. The steps of making ice cream are where your equipment comes in.
Hold on a second.
Yes.
Hold on a second.
Oh, here he goes,
Let's
Mr.
just
Chief.
talk. Let's just talk.
Yeah.
So these guys here.
Yeah, I'm going to let you take it over. You're better at this.
These guys here are going to say, oh, I want to open an ice cream parlor. How much do I need? $200,000. Well, let me see. I'm going to sell an ice cream for $5. How many ice creams do I have to sell? And my profit on the 5 is only $250. Let's see. By 2035, I should be home free. They can't do it.
Yeah.
They can't do it. You have to do it on the smallest possible without borrowing a dime. That's what I think. You don't borrow a dime. If you got 10 grand, you can start a business. You start maybe a cart business, or somebody said they're going to rent space in a kitchen that has extra room. Perfect. You do what you can, because every dime you take in is going towards your goal. Your goal is all that nice new shiny equipment. But face it, if you do it, imagine starting a business at whatever, people here are in all different stages of life. Imagine starting a business, you're 200 grand in the hole.
Yeah.
Why go to work?
Yeah.
It's not going to make it. You're not going to make it. So I think you start a business. I've done this all my life. Whatever money you have, you can start a business. You can start this business on $500. If you want to start with a cart at fairs, one cart at fairs, you'll make money too.
And buy your ices.
And buy your ices, yeah.
Don't make it, buy it.
Of course, do what you have to do with the money that you have. I'm very much against borrowing money to start your business.
What do you mean buy your ices?
Well, you can buy your ice cream.
If you've only got $5,000 to start the business, you don't have to buy a machine from me.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the machine is a big
Yeah.
expense.
Okay, I got it.
We'll get you later.
And of course, as soon as you save up the money, the first thing you're going to want is a machine to make it, because you're going to realize when they deliver your product, they're selling it to you for $3 a gallon, let's say. There's a company in Florida that sells it for about $3 a gallon. It's decent ice cream, but it's nowhere near homemade ice cream. And it's really not going to bring customers knocking on your door to get that ice cream. So you have to substitute the ice cream for the personality of your business. That's what, something has to bring people to you. And if it's not the product, unfortunately it can't be in the very beginning, then it has to be you. And it has to be your environment. It has to be the cart that people see from half the fair away that they're running over to. The product will be secondary. But treat them fairly, treat them great, have a fair price on it, and the product will be okay enough to get you by. But make money. And then as soon as you can buy a machine, you're home free, because then you take the next step up. But to start here, I think is suicide. I mean, let me know if you're going to do it. I'll buy your equipment in 6 months, because you can't make it. You can't do it. So as much as I appreciate his
you're right.
idealism, it won't work.
Yeah, no, you're right. My idealism was it costs, to answer the question technically, it could cost $200,000 to open a full-service ice cream parlor. But that's why I brought out the countertop, because nobody's got that money anymore. And that's why I say start with Italian ices.
I started with the countertop machine in an 8x10 room inside a spa. That was my whole thing. I had a sink that was literally a dentist's office sink. It was this big. But I had the small machine. And the small machine, I had to make ice cream almost every day, every other day. But man, I was making my own product. And it was on the cheap, too. And I told you, I think, from day one, I've made money. From day one. And that's what you got to do. If you're working to pay back a loan, you're not even going to want to go to work in the morning. Or in my case, at night.
Yeah.
So sorry to step on your toes.
That's absolutely right.
It's the real world.
Yeah, you start off small and you work your way up. That's why I like ices.
Mine?
Yeah.
6 to 10 at night.
Oh, but he's crazy. I mean, yeah, but you can't count on that. His is
And they're waiting at 6 o'clock.
He's an
when I pull up.
extraordinary situation because he's right next to probably the largest retirement community in the world, and everybody is coming out for ice cream after dinner. There's not another location like his on earth that you can do those hours. The hours are going to be 11 in the morning until when people stop coming. My richest customers, my richest ice cream parlors are on college campuses, and they do all their business all the way up until about 11:30 at night because the students get the munchies and come out of the dorms to go get ice cream. If you're in a community like I grew up in Pelham, New York, you're not going to see anybody past 8:30. So there's no reason being open till 10. So you can't say, oh, I'm going to the ice cream business. The hours are going to be 6 to 10. The hours are going to be what your customers dictate you're going to be.
How many ice cream parlors in Florida? 50,000?
Not as many as New England.
Okay, but
New England's it. That's the capital of ice cream eating.
Yeah.
And then the Great Lakes.
of the total ice cream parlors, how many produce their own product?
I can answer that.
I can't.
Less than you can count on one hand. I checked, when I opened up, I checked how many miles away was homemade ice cream, and I found one, and I went there, and it wasn't homemade ice cream. He just had the sign up homemade ice cream. But I checked for 60 miles, which includes Orlando and Ocala. Nobody made their own ice cream. And when I get my cream delivered, they deliver ice cream also. It's a place called the Ice Cream Club in Boynton Beach, and they make ice cream for, like, if you're not going to make your own, you buy theirs, and it's good ice cream. But I ask the driver all the time, anybody you're delivering mix to, to make their own? No, I'm the only one on the truck.
I did the same thing in the Naples area, and there's only 3 people, we're one of them, that will produce their own ice cream. All of that.
And that's why people come for $5 a shot.
And why they
line
come
up.
from miles away. You're going to be the successful ice cream parlor.
We're going to be able to control the product.
But there's from a marketing standpoint, I can go into any town and I can sell Hershey's ice cream or any other brand. But as soon as you come into town and advertise old-fashioned homemade ice cream, you're going to take all the business because, you've got the supermarket selling a Mrs. Smith's pie. And right next door, you've got the bakery, all baking done on premise. If you're having a special occasion, where are you going? You're going to buy the Mrs. Smith's at the Publix, or you're going to go to the bakery? The perceived notion is the bakery is going to be a better pie. And that's what drives people to homemade ice cream parlors. It becomes an outing, a destination. It becomes fun.
A destination, that's
And
right.
if the owner is there, so much the better. I mean, franchises, they don't mean much to me. People care that the owner is behind the business. I mean, look how I am so much more successful, not for all the things besides all the things I do, but for the fact that my name is Thompson, and people like to call up and know that they're talking to old man Thompson on the phone. That means a lot. They know they can't get any higher. You can't talk to Mrs. Verizon. She's not taking the phone.
I have a question about corporation versus like LLC, things like that. Like,
You got to talk to your attorney. It all comes down to liability, what else you own. If you own a home, you want to make sure you're fully protected. Florida is better than most states for protecting you. But it's a very, that's one important thing, is what type of corporation to be, and that's best for an attorney to answer. I'm not shirking it. We switched when we came down here from a Chapter C, like General Motors, down to a Chapter S, which is more of a limited liability. It was a better tax structure for us. But what really counts in an ice cream, in any business, especially in the food businesses, you have your homeowner's insurance, and it's got a certain amount of liability on it. That's protecting you in case someone falls and wants to sue you. You can buy an umbrella policy, and this is just good overall business sense. You can buy $1 million liability policy for really cheap money. And so if someone falls and then decides, you got a hot-looking business here and we're going to sue you, your insurance company pays the first part, and then your liability takes over. We used to know that in the Bronx, we were in the South Bronx, Murder Week neighborhood, very, very dangerous neighborhood, and a lot of people running around and everybody looking to become a millionaire by suing you. And we always carried a lot of liability insurance because we knew if an accident happened, their lawyer was going to look and see how much liability, how much insurance we had. If we had $200,000, they were going to sue us for $5 million and try to get the company. If we had $2 million in liability, they were going to sue for $4 million and settle for $2 million, because then they never had to go to court. They would get a big chunk and wouldn't have to bother going to court and risk not getting it. So liability insurance is very easy to get, very inexpensive, and something good to have, when you can afford it. Quite frankly, if you don't have a lot of possessions, don't worry about it. As Tie-Dye Jeff was saying, you do start this business small. That's why I've been so successful with the countertop machine, because I put people into the Italian ice business for under $15,000. $94.50 for the machine, and I have turned people away. I've said, you're not ready to go into business, because I said, how are you going to pay for your flavors? How are you going to buy your sugar? Oh, my husband and I, between us, we have 4 credit cards. No, none of these suppliers here are going to give you open account until you've been in business for a year.
Luckily.
And if you're Jeff, he's never going to take the open account. But they're not going to give it to you. So you need cash in the bank to pay your bills for the first year. And if it means delaying the dream for another 6 months or a year, by all means, delay it, so that you'll be in a great position when you open up. And like Jeff said, and I say, you don't need to buy this machine yet. We'll be here. Yeah, Ken.
How hard is it and how long does it take to clean up our machine?
Well, just watch Jeff. He's finished. That's how long it takes. It took him maybe 15 minutes.
It's ridiculously easy.
The parts are very big, and it's very open. If you've ever run a soft ice cream machine, for, say, frozen yogurt, they take about 45 minutes every time you clean them. They have hundreds of little parts. They're narrow, they're intricate. Our batch freezer has very few moving parts. This is one of the key parts right there. That and a couple of these, and that's basically the inside of the machine. So, I'm sorry?
That is the knife on an old machine?
Yes. Yep. That's what we use, and since it's spring-loaded, as it wears down over the next 5 or 10 years, it's still going to push against the walls as if it's brand new.
That must be much quieter than the old machine, right?
It is. The old
my
machines,
machine's
the blade slapped against the wall when it started, and then once it starts, they're quiet.
Now, what do you have for a warranty on these machines?
1 year parts, 90 days labor, and something no one else in the industry would dare do. I give out my home phone number. It's, if anyone's listening, it's 914-643-7391. You can call me up until 9 p.m., 7 days a week, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're in India and it's 2 in the afternoon, don't call me. You do that too often. India loves to call me at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at their place. I go, come on, guys, it's 3 in the morning. They go, yes, isn't it a beautiful day? And I'm going, not yet. Yeah. Yeah, maybe every 20 years.
Or 15, anyway.
Yep.
How much is a permissible slot?
If your drive shaft wiggles after 20 years, it's time to replace it.
Wiggles?
Yeah.
Give an inch? Wiggles?
A little more than that. It's easy. Anybody else? If not, I'll give you a tour of the factory.
You should go to the factory. It's quite something to see.
And thank you all for coming. I had a great time. Thank you.